Welcome into Bears Nation podcast. It is Monday, October 30th. And ladies and gentlemen, it brings me great pleasure as this is Bears Nation podcast. Myself, Jake Hassan, joined by Kevin Lapka, as always, brought to you by On Tap Sports. That is my great pleasure on this day to announce the tank is officially back on. It was never really off, at least not in this household that is Bears Nation podcast, but it's officially back on. I think we can all agree that the Bagency has ended, has resigned, is not it. The train has left the station and promptly jumped the tracks and crashed and burned. After and honestly, and we'll get into it, Bears lose to the Chargers on Sunday Night Football 31-10, just absolutely atrocious showing. And it's nothing against Tyson Bagent, did his best. Like, whole offensive line is out basically. No Braxton Jones. Darnell Wright's playing hurt. Lucas Patrick gets a weird back injury on the plane ride over, but still plays. And it's just all bad. Nate Davis doesn't play again. And, the kid gets put in a bad spot. Obviously, the talent on this roster leaves so much to be desired. Now, that being said, is he good? I think we have that answer to that question. Tyson Bagent is just not good. Like, he's not going to be a star. We talked about for 2 weeks now on this show what the realm of possibilities, what the range of outcomes was for Tyson Bagent. And because we didn't know a lot about him, I made the argument that it was within the range of possibilities for him to become a starter in the NFL or show that he had the talent to be. That was wrong. Now we know that the range of possibilities is way lower than that. We have 2 games now, one against an actual team that is going to be fighting for the playoffs. And say what you want about the Chargers, they always chunk it at the end. They always blow it eventually, when it comes to season long, expectations. But right now they're a team that's desperate, fighting for their playoff lives, and it showed, and you got exposed. Maybe Tyson Bagent still could be a serviceable backup. Maybe he could still be someone that can win you a game in a game-managed situation like he showed against the Las Vegas Raiders. But what we learned last night on Sunday Night Football was that Tyson Bagent ain't saving your franchise. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. I'm sure he works really hard. I'm sure all those stories are true. He's just not the savior of your franchise. It ain't happening. You're not getting a Brock Purdy situation. Sorry. You're just not. That's what we showed. It went out there, and Kevin, you said it last week. They could only run with the feel-good stories for probably about a half, and then it would get tired. By the end of that game, Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth were grasping for anything to talk about. In a game that was not competitive, they ran through all the Tyson Bagent material in the first half. And by the second half, they're talking about anything and everything, and anything to try and just bring some kind of entertainment value to a game that really had none. So, end of the day, we're right back to square one. The tank is back on. Unfortunately, the Carolina Panthers win yesterday against the Houston Texans. So not only do you lose as a Bears fan, you also lose as a Carolina Panthers rooting for their losses because they win a very stupid game against the Texans, in which Eddie Pinheiro, of course, former Bear who missed a lot of kicks here, has the game-winning kick for Carolina. You're still, though, on the bright side. Arizona does move into the number 1 spot if you're looking at Tankathon or whatever, mock drafts. Arizona is now number 1. However, the Bears, the Bears will still hold, if the season ended today, the 2nd and 3rd overall pick. You could still have dreams of pairing a quarterback with Marvin Harrison Jr. So you still have that going for you. But man, Kevin Lapka, what a dumpster fire that was. You're texting me the whole time. Well, first, let's talk about the first play of the game, which was probably the only bright spot where you had a little bit of hope for this game. The Bears come out firing. First play, throw down the field. Darnell Mooney, 35-yard catch, which probably should have been a touchdown because I don't think he was touched down.
Yeah, he never touched.
I digress. Wouldn't have changed the game, I don't think, really. But to come out firing, Kevin Lapka texts me immediately. Just, of course they're doing this. Oh my God. Just so predictable. And then, of course, immediately everything went to shit. But it started the game out hot, let Tyson Bagent throw, and then he just run, and oh my God, Velus Jones Jr., which we'll get to. But
God,
end of the day, Yeah, real slop fest of a game that was.
Yeah, and that first play of the game, man, like it was just a culmination of what the night was from like a narrative standpoint, right? Because
Sure.
really what's dominating the headlines today, honestly, more than and it should be this way, more than the way Tyson Bagent played in an actual analysis and breakdown of his game, is the way that he was perceived by the broadcast, the way that he was perceived by the media, and the question of you know, and again, to add to that, the Adam Schefter tweet the day before about, oh, his team saw this coming. A player on the team said he
Yeah.
could, quote, be the next Brock Purdy, and all this smoke, right? And again, we knew that this would happen, but he was the storylines on Sunday Night Football. You got two teams with 2 wins and two teams who are 2 games under 500, and the Chargers are just kind of vanilla as far as like a narratives. Like they're good, but they don't have a strong fan base, and there's not a lot of people backing the Chargers except for the emotional super fan who everything thinks in an industry plant. And the narrative around the game was clearly Tyson Bagent, and they milked the hell out of it pregame, and they milked the hell out of it during the game. But the greater question becomes, that is not a coincidence. That more than likely all comes from the team. These broadcasts, these crews, they have production meetings with the coaching
or
staff.
An agent.
Or an agent, sure. But, I can't imagine an agent just getting involved with Tirico and Condorth and all of that. But it's really what it is. And we'll get into this in a little bit. I just kind of wanted to throw it out there. The teams, this all came from the team. Luke Getsy got into that meeting room in that production meeting with Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico and said all these things to make them say that on the broadcast. Somebody would have had to leak the thing about, the Bears player say the next Brock Purdy to Adam Schefter. Like, all of these things come from the team. And that's a goddamn scary, 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 terrifying, horrifying reality once we kind of get into it. But going back to just the initial reaction and the overall view of the game, I mean, we told you so, and it's your fault, not you specifically, Jake, because you weren't on this, but you, some people who set these expectations for Tyson Bagent, is like I almost felt bad for the kid now because you did the same exact thing you do for everybody in this franchise. And it's hard in the Chicago market, and yada, yada, and the expectations are high. But if you were the one who were saying he could be Brock Purdy, he could be Kurt Warner, the guy on the score calling in saying he's the next Joe Burrow, he could be as good as Joe Burrow, you are the problem because now you set the expectations way too high. And now there's people on Twitter today who's saying, well, you got to evaluate him like a second game rookie. No, you don't. Because you put expectations out there that he is the next coming of Kurt Warner and the next coming of Tom Brady and the next Mr. Irrelevant and this great story who's going to be the future starter of the Bears. If you want that to be the case, you have to evaluate him like he's a 3-year starter. And you have to evaluate him the same exact way you evaluate Justin Fields on a week-to-week basis. If that's what you think, if you think he's better, if you want to insinuate that he's a better option, you evaluate him the same. And if you evaluate him the same, it's not even close. I mean, there was not sure. Did Tyson Bagent lose you the game? No, he didn't lose you the game. But did he do anything that made you feel like he could be here for the long term and win you games consistently? And Jake's arguing that he kind of did lose you the game.
I mean, the first interception was brutal.
I mean, that was one of the worst interceptions.
The second one was
Jordan Love-esque.
Yeah, and the second one was a good play made by the defensive back, but also like the other one that was almost an interception. Like there were a couple there were 2 that I can think of off the top of my head that should have been interceptions, 2 that were brutal throws too. So I
mean, he's throwing the ball all over the place, and and that's, again, this is why the first play is so funny. And just how we started this all off with is because we know the narrative throughout the week, right? Tyson Bagent could be this, he could be that. But, right, Jake, what does he maybe not have that most of these quarterbacks do have, right? He doesn't have this arm strength. He doesn't have the cannon. And pretty much on Tuesday when they started game planning for this game, I'm sure Matt Eberflus and Luke Getz were like, "Oh, we're gonna stick it to, we're gonna tease the entire world, and we're gonna throw a 40-yard shot play on the first play and erase the cannon narratives and erase the he can't throw the ball deep narratives because Nathan Peterman came in and threw the Hail Mary the week before, and it was so Bears for them to do that. And hey, great throw, right? It was a great play, but it was so Bears for them to do that. And then not do it the rest of the game. First of all, not do it they tried with the Velus Jones play, but pretty much for the rest of the game, stay conservative, just like you did against the Raiders, no passes beyond the sticks, no passes beyond 20 yards. And we said what would happen when you have a team. And by the way, 31st ranked pass defense in the NFL, one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. But hey, we have a full game tape on a player who and a team who's not confident in that player throwing beyond 20 yards. What's going to happen? You ain't going to be able to move the ball. They're going to be jumping routes all over the place on these throws to the outside, and that's what you got. So it was just frustrating. It's the fall back down to earth. Shane McCoy says we predicted the game perfectly. Hey, it's so hard being right here on this show. So frequently on a week-to-week basis, we are just 100% accuracy, 100%. That is not true. But this week, we nailed it because and he says we went down 14-0 and we said this team will not be able to play from behind with Tyson Bagent, and they were not able to do that at all.
It's also they didn't even change the play call or anything at all once you were down, because you take away, like, on the surface, okay, Tyson Bagent, 25 for 37, 232 yards. You take away that first throw, it's 24 for 36 for 181 yards.
Yeah.
Like, that's brutal. Like, you take away that first completion and this stat line looks even worse than it already does. Like, it's an absolutely atrocious, like, it looks so bad. So, and that's the thing too, is how many times do we have to see this with this coaching staff where you do something like, I mean, we saw this in week 1 against the Packers. You take a shot down the field, first play of the game, and then you turtle immediately, right away. I mean, look what happened on that drive. Yes, Darnell Mooney wasn't touchdown. Yes, it should have been a touchdown. Okay, the officials were bad. Take away that part of it. What was your play call right after? Run, terrible pass that ends up you get sacked on. Like, run. Tyson Bagent gets sacked immediately because your offensive line can't protect anybody. Can't block a breeze, a dandelion. Like, what are we talking about? So, and then you don't even kick. You punt. Like, it's just so brutal. And this coaching staff is so cowardly. Again, I will go back to the same thing that I said a couple weeks ago. This coaching staff is intentionally trying to lose games. And which is insane to say, because they must know that if they lose out, they lose their jobs. But even if they are trying to win, I mean, who are they beating? Other than maybe Arizona. Like, because if the Panthers are going to the Panthers have been an upward trajectory. Like, and you saw that yesterday against the Texans. So I don't think you're beating the Panthers.
Justin Fields. It slightly changed with Justin Fields.
But still, I mean, the defense is brutal. The coaching is horrendous. Like, you might have the worst coach in the league.
You do.
You might have the worst.
Oh, come on. That is not a question.
Arthur Smith might be worse. Arthur Smith is brutal. Daboll's been terrible this year too.
Yeah.
But point being, who are you beating? Like, yeah, I know you have to beat Arizona if you want that number 1 pick, but like, how? You're going to beat Kyler Murray? And Jonathan Gannon might be really good. So you're beating that team? I don't think you're beating the Panthers either. Bryce Young is on an upward trajectory. And if Frank Reich's not calling the plays, Bryce Young has gotten better week over week. Like, you see, like, the throw he had yesterday was unbelievable. Was spinning out of pressure and just throwing it out. That was
first
unbelievable.
Overall pick?
Exactly.
I hope so.
So I don't think you're beating the Panthers. Who are you beating? You're not beating the Falcons, because even Arthur Smith can acknowledge that you just run Bijan Robinson 30 times against this Bears team, you're winning. You're good. You're fine. Especially if it's Taylor Heineke. If it's Taylor Heineke, you're losing that game going away.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the Bears' run defense is actually really good. I mean, they did a great job last night with Austin Eckler and Joshua Kelly, and it's really just the pass game that got exposed. And I really do think.
So what the Chargers did with Eckler, the Falcons can't do with Bijan Robinson.
I'm just saying. I also will say I think the absence of Eddie Jackson, not as much Eddie Jackson, but more Jaquan Brisker had a decent play in how they defended the ball through the air. And I think that's key to recognize how significant he is to that defense. But I think the thing you're going to start to notice, Jake, is look, when you never want to fade a team in a moment of desperation. There's a reason I picked the Chargers on Survivor. I put all that money on the line against my favorite team. I never do that. I had the courage and the guts to do it because that's a team in desperation. Justin Herbert had been playing well. He feel like it was a perfect game for him. Brandon Staley, desperation coaching for his job every game. And no matter how good or bad you are, when you're in desperation mode and you're pulling out all the stops, like you can be a hard team to beat. And I think you're going to start to see that. And you obviously have to start to see that with Justin Fields, right? When he comes back, assuming it's next week, he comes back next week. The Bears are 2-6. That gives you 9 games of this. Like, this is it, bro. Like, this is it. If you want to be the quarterback of the Chicago Bears going forward, which obviously I still think should be the case, and it's pending what he does in the next 9 games, and depending how the draft shakes out for him, yada, yada, yada. I just, I'm unsure about the prospects right now. But in these next 9 games, prove it. On a game-to-game basis, Justin Fields is playing for his NFL career. That alone will give them the ability to win certain games. And maybe they rally behind him and say, hey, we're going to be behind you for these next 9 games. Even if they are your last 9, we're going to give you everything we got so you can kind of, make yourself look good, whether it's for the Bears or the next organization that you'll be going to at the end of the year. We're going to give it our all for you and play for you and all this. I mean, that's the only thing that I would say about, what to look for the rest of the season. Because other than that, it's tank mode. But the thing is, the Bears won't do that themselves. Like, it may end up shaking out that way. But last year, it felt like they were actually losing games, designed to lose games, which, probably wasn't the case. It just appeared that way. That can't happen this year because none of these guys playing on the field, even Jalen Johnson, which we'll get to, even Darnell Mooney, which we'll get to, are guaranteed to be a part of this organization next year. Obviously, except the guys that are on 2 or 3 year contracts. You know what I mean, right? Like the core people, the coaches, the quarterback, certain players. Like, it's not a guarantee that you're on the team next year. You're not just going to tank. You're going to play as hard as you can, whether it's for them or for the next team to look at you and scout you. Like, that's what's going to happen the rest of the year. I'm just okay. Can we real quick before we move on to other analysis of this game and talk about Velus Jones Jr. and everything else? Like, I do. This has been making the rounds on the internet, and it should be. When Chris Collinsworth says Justin Fields should study Tyson Bagent. Justin Fields should. What the fuck pardon my friend. What are we doing here? I don't know if that enraged you as much as it enraged me, but that has been making the rounds on the internet, and it is absolutely infuriating. For him to say that, and this goes back to the original conversation I started my opening segment with. That comes from somebody. And there's people out there that believe that there's a chance that they got into that production meeting and said, we think, and the coaches, that is, we think Justin Fields can learn things from Tyson Bagent. We think this guy, who is a 3rd-year quarterback in the NFL, was a top prospect in the draft, played at Ohio State, has every single part of his game I still think is better than Tyson Bagent's. I don't want to hear it about getting the ball out quick. I think that's a byproduct of the game plan more than anything. Maybe it's still accurate, but to me, Jake, I thought that was completely disrespectful. And if you are a believer that came from the team, that is just a heartbreaking reality that this team never had faith in Justin Fields. They never were going to put him in the best position to succeed. They haven't done it all year. And it's affirmation that has and is the case right now, if that was something that they had said to Collinsworth in the production meeting. I don't know if that enraged you the way it enraged me, but I know it's been kind of making the rounds, and I feel like we had to address it. That was a sickening thing to say, a disrespectful thing to say to Justin Fields, and just frustrating as hell to hear in the moment.
I mean, I wouldn't say it enraged me, but I mean, like, the ears part, like, you're like, okay, like, kind of weird, but also it's like, it's generic, like announcer talk to me in a way too, where it's like, oh, these guys can help each other and build off each other and in the meetings and like, to me, it's partially just generic, like, announcer speak of like, oh, well, the Bears are going to be getting Fields back and how can he be better? How can they win games? Could it have come from somebody? Sure, 100%. I don't think it necessarily had to come from a coach. Could have come from somebody's agent or from another team trying to drive. Like, if there's a team out there, like, it could have been from, like, just, I'm not saying reporting anything or saying anything, but like, if the Falcons, lose Desmond Ridder, he's in concussion protocol, they don't believe in Taylor Heineke, maybe the Falcons are calling somebody saying, hey, we're going to pick up the phone tomorrow and try and get a 5th or 6th round pick, So it could be another team trying to drive Fields' trade value down or something. I don't know. It could be any number of things. I'm not going to speculate that it did come from the Bears, but even if it did, if you're somebody that believes that the Bears coaches were saying this, or that somebody from the Bears was in, the production meeting saying this, then it's over. It's done. If that did come from the Bears, Justin Fields has no shot in Chicago. Not saying he has no shot as an NFL quarterback, not saying he has no shot in the NFL or elsewhere. It's in Chicago for the Bears. It's over. That's curtains. If somebody on the coaching staff, whether that be Eberflus or Getsy or the video coordinator or Kevin Warren or George McCaskey or Virginia McCaskey, whoever it was, it's over. Because then that means no matter who it came from, other people in the building also share those sentiments. And if that's the case, you're done. You have no shot. If somebody in the building, anybody on the coaching staff is saying, oh, well, our guy who, to your point, Kevin, is his third year in the NFL, has been in the building forever, can learn from the undrafted rookie, then it's over. They don't believe in you anymore. They're going to move on in a year or less now at this point. So I've been very open that I think that it's over for Fields in Chicago anyway, that this coaching staff, that he had his run. It's just never going to happen here for him. I hope he goes somewhere else and is successful and is awesome and balls out, but it's just not going to happen here. I've thought that from like week 3. And now if this is what the narrative is going to be, it's completely over. And it shows that other people in the building think the same way. And they're just looking to who they're drafting in April.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. Like, I can't, like, is it likely that he's not a Chicago Bear at the end of the year? Probably. And we've kind of come to terms with that. And I said after like week 3 that, I just want what's best for him. And if he has to go succeed at another place, then go succeed at another place. And maybe it just won't work out here. And then change of scenery will do him well. Yep. But you have to at least entertain the possibility of him coming back, playing like he did against the Commanders and against the this season has been a goddamn slog against the Broncos. Right? From a statistical standpoint, doing that over a 9-game span, say he does that over a 9-game span, and say the Bears don't have the number 1 overall pick. There's a team that's going to be willing to give a shit ton of assets to the Cardinals to move up for Caleb Williams, a desperate team, who's in that range. And I don't think the Bears would, probably be one of them. They probably, potentially, but who knows? If you have Justin Fields' statistical output in the last 9 games that is similar to the 2 games against the Commanders and the Broncos, it would be the most criminal, unjustifiable move to move on from him at the end of the year. If it was a decision by the organization and the coaching staff, it would be unjustifiable. You would let a guy walk out the door who, if he kept that statistical output up, would be near the first 4,000-yard passer in the NFL, in Bears franchise history. Right? Would be close to that. He's not going to get there because he's now missed a couple games, but he'd be close, right? The touchdown to interception ratio at the time was 8-0. If he keeps that going, it would be, unbelievable. The passer rating looks really good. The completion percentage looks good. All these different things, right? It would be criminal to walk away from it. So I am just putting it out there that I don't think you should entirely close the door, that there is a possibility that he does play well enough the next 9 games where you just don't have a choice. Like it would be a worse look for you as Ryan Poles to get rid of him and start fresh than if you were to retain him after everything that has already occurred. So I don't think, and look, I understand my potential biases and my viewpoint of Justin Fields. And of course, I'm not gonna let that fly under the radar. That's a real thing for me. But objectively, even if you don't like Fields, and if you are a Bagent guy or whatever, if he plays that well for the next 9 games, you're just comfortable walking away from him. I don't think it's possible. I really, really don't. And maybe you do what I said and you keep him around and you have 2, say it's 2 and 3, you trade down from 2 or something. Someone gets really excited for Drake May. You trade down from 2, you secure a 2025 first round pick, and there you have insurance again if things don't work out. Like, I don't know. But at this point, like, again, I still think it's possible and it's open for possibility, and you have to keep it open.
Well, the problem is, again, you have to think about this like you're Ryan Poles. Like, you can't, if you lose a bunch of okay, let's say you beat the Cardinals and, let's say you beat the Vikings because it looks like they're going to bottom out now without Kirk Cousins. Let's say you get 2 more wins. Okay, you go 2 and whatever it is, 2 and 9 or 2 and 7 the rest of the way over the last 9 games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like you finish near the bottom of the league again, and you just wouldn't if you're Ryan Poles and you have back-to-back campaigns with 3 wins and you are going to do the same plan you did last year where you trade down out of a position to draft a quarterback very highly in the draft and then get a first round pick for the next year and say, oh, well, there's our insurance. Because again, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. If you're Ryan Poles,
Right, he can't
then
afford
your
it.
seat starts to get warm. He's not going to be able to.
Yeah.
So while you may be right, Kevin, that, oh, Justin Fields plays really well, but you still lose games, but you can't justify. Sure, you can. Ryan Poles absolutely can, because then you say full sweep, because then if you don't, we're back in that same cycle of hell that we've talked about where, okay, coaching staff changes. Maybe they believe in Justin Fields. Oh, they gave it 1 year. Nope. Turns out Fields isn't the guy. Oh, well, we got to give these coaches a chance to draft somebody they like. Right. Okay, well, that doesn't work out. Then the coaches get fired 2 years later. Then a coaching staff comes in for that quarterback thinking they can fix him. They can't. Then they get to draft their guy. And we're just doing it over and over. You're Ryan Poles. You're sitting there. You're 6-28 or whatever, 6-22 over the last 2 years. And you got to make a decision. And you got to say, okay, my seat's going to get warm. If I have another year like this, then it's over. I got to start fresh completely with a new quarterback, new coaches, and try to get to 6 wins to save my job, which sounds so insane to say that 6 wins would save a job. But that's what it would be. And so Ryan Poles isn't going to do that. He's not going to say, oh, well, we could just try again in 2025 then. It's not going to happen. If you lose all these games, like the only way that Justin Fields sticks around in Chicago is if you go like 7-2 over the end of the season, maybe just barely miss the playoffs, and then you can try and run it back. But that's not going to happen. Again, who are you beating on the rest of the schedule? At the Saints. You ain't winning that game.
They'll win a dumb game. They could beat the Saints. Okay. I do. If Justin Fields
first game back for Fields, not going to happen. Maybe. And the Saints defense actually decent, especially at home. Home against the Panthers. Okay, I think you probably win that game. At home, maybe Thursday night, though, short week. I don't know. Lions, you're losing that game. Vikings in Minnesota, probably a coin toss. Honestly, like, what if they sign Case Keenum? Probably a coin toss. Home against the Lions, losing that game. At the Browns, have you seen what Myles Garrett has been doing? You lose that game. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Home against the Cardinals, probably win that game. Home against the Falcons, probably lose that game, to be honest, especially if it's Taylor Heineke. And then at the Packers to close it out, limp into the other. You think that team's getting up for that game? Not a chance. So, all right, you win 2 more games.
Packers are terrible.
So you go 3-14 again?
Yeah, but if Justin Fields plays well,
it doesn't matter, Kevin. That's what I'm telling you. It isn't. It doesn't matter. For Ryan, if Ryan Poles is going to fire the coaching staff, which he will if they go 3-14 again, it doesn't matter how well Fields plays. Poles is going to try and save his job. He can't afford to kick the can down the road again. He tried that this year.
But drafting a rookie QB is kicking the can down the road. That's the same thing.
It gives him more time. He can't kick it down the road for another year with Fields. It's not going to save his job. At least if you bring in a new coaching staff with a new quarterback as the general manager, that gives you at least 2 more seasons, at least, if not longer. Like, that's what he's going to do to try and save his job. It doesn't matter right, wrong, and different about Justin Fields. If they'll say, well, can't stay healthy, still didn't win games, so we got to move on, because they're not going to want to pay him, whatever it may be. So they're going to start. They're going to start from zero. They're going to start from zero, because if you have to think about this not as the fan. You have to think about this as a general manager who's looking at 3 and whatever the fuck the record is. I just said 3-28 over the last 2 years. That's how you have to evaluate this. But getting a rookie quarterback with a new coaching staff buys Ryan Poles more time to save his own ass.
And
he's not going to cut the wire for everybody else. He's going to try and save his own ass. Especially, I mean, do we disagree that the writing is on the wall that Eberflus is getting fired at the end of the year?
Oh, we know that.
So,
we know that.
Would you really rather do this again with Justin Fields with a new coaching staff and risk staying in this sequence and then possible another bad coaches? Like, who would you really rather pass on May or Williams to give Justin Fields one more chance? That was supposed to be this year. It's over. He's had the chances. Let him go have a chance somewhere else. Kevin, you're not getting anywhere with Justin Fields here. It's over. You need to accept that. It doesn't matter. We can play this if he balls out forever. We've been playing that game for a year and a half. And it's still gotten you nowhere. It's gotten you 3 wins, and it's gotten you 4 wins over the last 18 months. We can't keep doing this. You have to at some point start fresh. I agree. I think Justin Fields could be awesome somewhere else. It's just not going to be here. It's just not at this point. It can't be, because it's just not going to happen here. And if you want the Bears to succeed, I'm sorry, but you can't bring another new coaching staff. You can't bring in a third coaching staff for Justin Fields. You can't. That's mismanagement. That's being a brain dead organization. That's asking for failure. A third coaching staff with the same guy, you can't do that. That would be asinine. That would be insane. Like, that would break me as a fan. Like, that would, like, if you give this guy a third coaching staff, and I get it, Eberflus stinks, and I know Matt Nagy
exactly.
sucks,
so you're proving the point.
But you can't do that again. Like, a third coaching staff for one quarterback? Yes. When has that ever worked?
But what you're saying, though, you think that Justin Fields is going to survive on another team, and he's going to go ball out on another team, and that would be the third coaching staff for him. It's going to prove your point. He's going to go to the right situation. He's going to be a fucking all-pro, and we're going to go back to this moment and say, what the hell? We should have ran it back with him, with a coach who actually knows what he can do. That's exactly what's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. Quarterbacks in the first round are risks.
We don't know what's going to happen. We think it could happen.
I know it's going to happen. I mean, sure, we think it's going to happen. Nothing's for sure, but it's more than likely that's going to happen. We all know that. Everybody kind of knows that. I think if you bring in I would much prefer them bring in Ben Johnson and build a team through the trenches in the draft around, get him Marvin Harrison Jr., get him Olu Fashanu, build around Justin Fields, rather than restart. Guess what? New coaching staff, new quarterback, neglect everything else again. You're trying out Larry Borum. You're trying out Ja'Tyre Carter out the offensive line. Quarterback's going to get killed in the first year. Questions again after the first year. What's the problem with the quarterback? It's the quarterback's fault now. And then you're going to have the same cycle over and over again, just with a new guy. You might as well have the same problem with the same guy and then move on after that. I can't do this. I can't retool and try to find the other guy again. You have the guy. You have the guy. And I know people don't believe that. I know the Bears organization doesn't believe that. But you have the guy that's worth giving a shot to. And you are not putting your 100% into giving the shot to him. And that is unforgivable. And that's why it always sticks with me, is because you might be right. But to come to terms with that is a fireable offense for Ryan Poles. It's a fireable offense for, I'm almost at the point when
it's a fireable offense to move on from Justin Fields as your Ryan Poles.
It's a fireable offense to come to the realization that they didn't do everything they could to put this quarterback, who's the best talent to ever walk through the organization, in the best position to succeed. And you are now forced to potentially start this all over and do this all over again. And maybe you do get a quarterback like Caleb Williams and Drake May. And what are the odds that you put him in the best situation to succeed? And yada, 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 over and over and over. And I'm not saying the Bears shouldn't draft a quarterback if it comes to it, because quarterbacks will never succeed in Chicago. That's a dumb narrative. But I'm almost at the point where, Ryan Poles is on the hot seat. I don't want to give him all this time too. If you're going to restart and redo it all, redo it all. If you're going to restart everything, if you're going to clean house at the end of the year, clean house. Get rid of Ryan Poles too, because he played a part in not allowing this whole Justin Fields thing to work out. And if we come to this realization that he was never the guy for him, and the whole trade with Carolina was more of insurance for the next draft than it was support for Justin Fields, then yes, get the hell out of here. I'm sick of Ryan Poles. I'm almost out on him right now. And I think it's just I'm frustrated by the trade deadline right now, and I'm frustrated about, Jalen Johnson's not getting a contract. If it didn't happen by 11:35 on Monday, it's not gonna happen for the deadline. It's not gonna be a last minute thing. What the hell are we doing? Keep good players around. Find a way to make this team good. Don't just do this same old bullshit and continue to not build around good players. I'm fucking sick of it. I'm sorry. And we both kind of went on a rant here, and it's deserving. And this, because no matter which way you slice it, nothing looks it doesn't look good for them, no matter which way you slice it. It doesn't appear that there's a solution in place. You don't have faith that things are going to work out. Right? If they clean house, what's the faith they hire the right head coach? Right? They probably won't. I don't know, man. And again, I know this is going to sound real homerish from a Justin Fields standpoint for me with everything I'm saying right now, and I get that. But objectively, especially if that output is there for the next 9 games, even if they lose games, you will, 3 years down the road, you'll look back, you'll have Drake May or Caleb Williams, they'll be looking mid as usual for a Bears quarterback. And then Justin Fields will be hoisting the Lombardi for the Atlanta Falcons or hoisting the Lombardi for, the Minnesota Vikings, a division rival, and we'll all be saying, well, shit, maybe we should have kept this guy around. Maybe we should have, built around this guy. And hey, I could be wrong. Maybe he goes there and he regresses and becomes the worst version of himself. I don't know. But at this point, with the talent that that he has, it's the same. Banking on Justin Fields at this point in his career is the same as banking on Drake Williams or Drake May or Caleb Williams. It's the same. There's nothing new or significant or greater about those guys except for the fact that they're 3 years younger and you reset the contract. But at that point, I don't care. That's where I'm at. I'm so goddamn frustrated with this organization. I'm so frustrated with this team and just the culmination of everything after last night about how they feel about this organization and, putting Tyson Bagent on a pedestal when they never did it for Justin Fields. I can't, man. I can't. I'm sorry. So anyway, Velus Jones Jr. out. How does that guy have a
job? God. I mean,
could Jake Hassan have caught that pass? Let's play that game.
Me or you or anyone in the chat right now could have caught that pass, especially because he could have caught it sitting down. Like he fell down, turned around, sat upright, and it still dropped directly into his lap. Directly. All he had to do was go like this. And that's a touchdown catch. Like this guy. And honestly, I give Tyson Bagent credit for recognizing a broken play and going for it. Like I give him credit for 100%. That. But like, oh my God, Velus Jones Jr. How did that guy, if that guy's key card works today,
give him the Jamal Adams treatment.
I mean, legitimately, like how do you justify keeping that guy? At least last year was a rookie. He showed flashes of kick return. He's not even doing that anymore. Like get this guy to the CFL so immediately. It's just like so stupid. Like, and Tyson Bagent, like good throw. Anybody else on the team makes that catch. Like this guy, Velus Jones Jr., falls down, pushes in himself into a sitting upright position. It's like, oh, where am I? Oh, football. Nope. Like what? What do we do? Like this guy is so brutal. And you might be right. Maybe Ryan Poles is just bad. Like maybe he's just bad at his job. I don't think we're going to get a resolution to it because I don't think Kevin Warren's firing him after 2 years. Because again, I think Ryan Poles is going to go into that, exit meeting and be like, well, I didn't pick the quarterback and I didn't really get to pick the coach. So, there's that. Like, that's what he's going to hang his hat on. If Kevin Warren buys it, I don't know, but oh my God. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's just a perfect encapsulation of being a Bears fan, that play. Like quarterback for once recognizes a broken play, for once goes for it all, no flags on the play, and your receiver and despite falling down, your receiver still has an opportunity to make the play and score points and just doesn't. That's being a Bears fan. Honestly, if anyone were to ever ask me, what's being a Bears fan like? I would just show that clip. Your backup quarterback somehow, some way, recognizing a broken play, somehow, some way, somebody doesn't commit holding or a false start, and your receiver falls down and still is in a position to catch the ball and just doesn't. That's being a Bears fan. That's what it is. It's just a kick in the dick repeatedly, over and over, every week, same time generally, same 6-7 hour window every week, and it's brutal. And it's so, and honestly, like, I think if anything, both of us were on the opposite sides in our mini rants there, or rants, whatever. But like, what basically that just shows is that this organization is just cursed to be in mediocrity forever, and cursed to be this. I think it was Shane M put in the chat like, oh well, you gave Jay Cutler 3 coaching staffs, and how did that work out? How'd that go? Like, and you're right too, though, Kevin. Your points are also valid that this is the best quarterback you've had in the building ever, and you're not doing anything. And the guys in the chat are true. Like, you want to reteach and retool despite the pieces not being there already. I guess I don't know. It's something new at least. Like that's at least it's different. And like, I don't, it's just like we're cursed as fans of this dumb team. You're just cursed. You're screwed no matter what you do. Like there's equal amounts of bottom out potential, no
Correct.
matter which avenue you take. You stick with Fields for one more year and give him Ben Johnson, let's say. Equal chance that it bottoms out and goes poorly and you move on from Fields next year. Same amount of awfulness potential as if you bring in a rookie and maybe they're awful. And it's just either way, it's death. Either way, it's death. Regardless, it's just death no matter what you do. And that really sucks because as a fan, it just jades you and grinds you down. And it's so stupid. But you know what we're going to do? We're still going to be here. And in whatever 6 months, when it's time for the draft, no matter what you're doing, we're going to be here and we're going to get excited for rookies and we're going to get excited to talk about what this team maybe could be with Marvin Harrison Jr. and a new coaching staff and maybe a new quarterback, no matter, maybe Justin Fields still. Maybe, you know what's probably going to happen? They're probably just going to do both. They're going to say, hey, we're going to draft Caleb Williams, but we're also going to give Justin Fields a 1-year contract and we're going to let them duke it out. And we're going to have a quarterback competition. And yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. is awesome. And we're going to try and find a steal at the offensive line in the second round. And we're going to sign some guys too. We're going to sign a couple tackles. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to come in this building in June for a rookie minicamp. And you know what? Justin Fields is going to come for voluntary work minicamp because they're going to duke it out. It's going to be the start of this competition. And you know what? Whoever comes out on top, that's how we know, because it's, iron sharpens iron. And then you're just going to go 4-12 again and 4-13 again. And it's going to suck ass. And then Justin Fields, you're going to give Justin Fields 1 year, one more shot while the rookie learns behind him. Drake May or Caleb Williams, and then you're just going to stunt their development because you're going to give Justin Fields one more chance in the hopes of trying to trade him. And then he stinks or is just average or is hurt again, and you can't trade him. And then you let him walk for nothing. And then the rookie is all pissed off because he wasted a year. And then he's just going to stink too. And it's really going to suck. So I hope everybody's ready for that. Anyway.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. That would, I mean, it would be so Bears. I can't even rule that out. I think the thing that you said that kind of hit with me is like, we have no faith as fans of this franchise. We're conditioned to believe that the different won't be different, right? That, know, if you do clean the house and you do bring in something different, will it really be different? And that's really the main reason. And that's the reason that I'm skeptical about, moving on and like, recognizing that you have something good, recognizing, it's not that like Justin Fields was a good prospect. Like Justin Fields has proven it in the NFL. And I think we all recognize that if he had the right situation around him, things could probably be good. Nonetheless, like you just don't have the faith that if they restart from zero, like I'd rather restart from, if it's out of 100, I'd rather restart from 20% with some of the pieces that you have instead of restart from zero with nothing. That's just, recognize that you have some good in there. And that's, again, why I'm frustrated about, the whole Jalen Johnson thing, because it feels like they're going to go back to zero and lose that guy too, who's, one of the top, I think he's ranked second on PFF right now, top coverage corner in the NFL, top 3 from a passer rating targeted standpoint. Like we all know the capabilities of Jalen Johnson, and they're just going to let him walk out the door or potentially trade him on October 31st tomorrow. We don't know. And it's just like, it's just frustrating. Real quick about Velus Jones. Can you guess how many career yards he has?
Oh, God.
This is a fun one.
Is this rushing and receiving or just receiving?
No, just receiving. I don't know. It's rushing.
Is it
the number of receptions and the number of yards he has?
Is the yards double digits?
No.
Oh, it's triple digits?
It's triple digits.
Wow.
But DJ Moore doubled his total this year in a single game.
So like 107 or something?
Yeah, 116. 10 receptions for 116 yards for Velus Jones.
10
Jr.
receptions. 10?
Yeah.
25 games in the NFL, 10 receptions.
10 receptions in 25 games. And this isn't a 7th round pick Cinderella story. This isn't an undrafted rookie Cinderella story. This was a 3rd round pick. 3rd rounder.
Good Lord.
And the only receiver you took in that draft, if I'm not mistaken. That's where we're at. 10 receptions for 116 yards. 10 receptions, 116 yards for a 3rd round rookie in how many games we say it was?
25. A season and a half.
Games. I mean, he probably didn't play in some of those, but 20 something probably. 20
Still,
something.
yeah. I mean, oh my God.
Do not let polls cook, Shane McCoy says. I
so
like,
brutal.
yes, Darnold Wright's amazing. I guess you give polls credit for that, but it's a top 10 pick. It's pretty hard to miss on top 10 picks. And I know there's gonna be people critical of them
Right.
passing
Brisker
on
and
Jalen
Gordon.
Carter.
We think they're
Brisker,
good.
yeah, right. But again, I
Rex and
just
Jones.
I think, and I think I'm gonna come more to the point of like, I don't know if he should be around. And I'm not out on Ryan Poles yet. Maybe I'm getting there
Right.
because of some of these things and because of, the way that they've kind of built this narrative and everything and yada, yada, yada. And I still remain firm in the belief that a lot of the talent that Poles acquires is not getting properly developed by the coaching staff. And that is something you have to take into consideration. And I can't put all of that on Poles. I actually thought the free agent additions were relatively decent. Of course, they neglected to go to some certain positions and allow Cody Whitehair to still be there and Lucas Patrick. But, I mean, I thought those guys would have been better than they are and whatever. So I'm not out on Poles yet, but I'm getting pretty damn close, especially if they trade Jalen Johnson. I am out. I am OUT out.
That would be
Anything
tough.
real quick? Can we give myself some credit?
Sure.
I predicted 31-13 final score, Jake. What was the
You
final
sure?
score?
You sure
30-13. Let's
sure did.
go. Finally, about got it.
Whoa.
Wait. Do we have quarterback lines? Can we read those?
We do. So
Let's go.
I would have been very close on the yards if not for that 40-yard completion. I predicted 18 for 25, 189 yards.
wow.
We both predicted 1 touchdown. You predicted 2 interceptions, so you were right on that. You predicted 15 for 23 for 157 yards. So they ended up throwing way more than we thought, but also a lot of that was garbage
Playing from
time.
behind, yeah.
So that kind of goes to it. But we were close. I mean, you got the interceptions and you got the score. If not for that stupid first completion, I would have been basically on with the yards. And we were both off on the touchdown, which seems so bare minimum, but 0.
Well, did I have rushing Did we have rushing touchdown? I think I might have had rushing touchdown.
I only
know,
have
maybe
1
not.
touchdown written down. I don't know if you said rushing or not, but
I don't know.
Also, I'm just looking right now, like the market for who the free agents on the offensive line are going to be upcoming. It isn't super great. I mean, you have 36-year-old Jason Kelsey, 33-year-old Tyron Smith, 30-year-old Andrews Pete, 38-year-old Dwan Brown, 33-year-old Kevin Zeitler. Okay, Connor Williams is a free agent. That's not bad. He's 26 right now. It's not bad. Jonah Williams. Well, okay, so there's some options here at center and at tackle, which is big.
Well, we don't need
I guess you
tackle,
really need
probably.
a guard, yeah.
You really just
unless
need a guard.
You move Braxton Jones inside.
Nah,
let's see, guards. Lucas Patrick. Yeah, not great. Great options at center, which is big, but interior offensive line, not looking too hot. Don't really love that.
Yeah. Again, I mean, we'll see.
You know who's gonna be an unrestricted free agent?
Sam Mustipher.
No, unrestricted free agent, and will be 27 years old. Illinois legend Nick Allegretti.
Oh, God.
At guard.
Is he any good?
Super Bowl winner. 2-time Super Bowl. The Chiefs.
Oh, but he doesn't play.
Well, he plays sometimes. But anyway, anyway.
Good for him.
I digress.
Yeah, how about the Chiefs? Yeah, Matt Nagy, Chiefs. Yeah. Uh-oh.
Broncos.
Uh-oh. Ruh-roh.
Flu game. All right. Do you got anything else here? Because this was depressing.
No, yeah, that really was depressing. Well, apologies to the listeners. I mean, often we try to uplift here on the Bears Nation podcast. At least I do. Jake, not so much. I don't have much uplifting.
It's called balance.
We don't have much uplifting. Hopefully Justin Fields comes back next week, and hopefully you see a little bit of something from him. That's again, we're at that point where lose games. Justin plays well. That's the only exciting thing that we're looking for, or the fact that they just like somehow rip off 5 in a row with Justin Fields playing well. I don't know. I mean, that's just where you're at. Shout out to listeners in the chat all day. Jacob Pondadon, Shane McCoy, Obadiah Patterson, I am Scox. Who else? Alberto Molina, Demon 1599. We feel your pain. I hope you feel ours. We will get through it together. And at some point, I know somebody said it. I believe it was Alberto Molina. He said the Bears will never win another Super Bowl. Just accept it. They will. The Bears will have their moment. They will have their time. They will win a Super Bowl, and we will be alive to see it. Bear put me down. That's right. We'll see y'all on Wednesday.
Bear put me down is really good, and I'm really upset I didn't think about it.
We did it last year. Remember last?
Bear put me down is really good.
Who we did it last year? Who put it in the chat? Was it Shane that put it in the chat?
Probably Shane again. I'm really upset I didn't think of that.
Yeah, wow. You were upset last year too.
Excellent. That's really, really good. Well, on that note, hope we were able to get some feelings out for some people today. Not a very fun episode, but we will be back on Wednesday. Hopefully should have some clarity about Justin Fields if he's going to start against the Saints this upcoming week. We will, of course, keep you posted on that. Of course, if there's any trades that happen, we'll talk about that. So come back on Wednesday. We'll try to be a little bit more positive. Maybe we'll have some positive things to actually talk about injury-wise or maybe even contract-wise if Jalen Johnson gets extended. So like Kevin said, thank you to listeners, the viewers. You guys are great. Appreciate all the interaction. You guys are the best. So for myself, for Kevin, this